For the third time in school history, the Florida men's basketball team is bringing home a national championship.
You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Just a Sec podcast. And it's only fitting after a historic 2024-2025 basketball season for the Southeastern Conference that an SEC squad was named national champion. The Florida Gators, for the third time in school history, for the first time since they went back-to-back with Joe Kim Noah, Corey Brewer, and that squad, Billy Donovan's boys, they bring home the national championship, cut down the nets, and they're bringing the trophy back to a very enthusiastic Gainesville. Awesome videos coming out last night. Love to see the Florida fans, a great, passionate fan base, being able to enjoy something that they have rightfully earned. Defeating the Houston Cougars in another dramatic comeback. Dramatic comeback for Florida over Texas Tech. Dramatic comeback for Florida over the Auburn Tigers, and they capped it off last night with another dramatic 65-63 victory over Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars. I want to say congratulations to Kelvin Sampson in Houston. I know it's heartbreaking coming this close to winning a national championship. Houston, they keep knocking on that door. They're just not able to kick it down. But ultimately, the Florida Gators, like they've been able to do time and time again, make the clutch plays in the clutch moments. And I want to start there. To me, the four best teams obviously made San Antonio, right? The top four seeds. And you got three great games. But what you saw from Florida, what separated them from the other three teams, is on the biggest stage. And Houston's had great, last second wins. Auburn has had great last second wins. Duke has had great last second wins. But at the biggest stage, on the Final Four stage in San Antonio, the Florida Gators kept their composure, whether it be on the offensive end of the court or the defensive end of the court, got the stops, got the buckets that they had to have to cut down the nets as national champions. So that's the first thing that stands out to me is when you look at what really separates, because all these teams are pretty even. What separated them, though? One, we're going to talk about in a minute. It's a particular guard named Walter Clayton Jr. Only one team had that young man. Absolute phenomenal performance from him. But it was just Florida's ability to stay composed. Down in the Elite Eight versus Texas Tech. Down, they had an 8-point deficit to Auburn at halftime. Down last night, double digits in the second half to Houston. They were never fazed by it. Florida never wavered. They stood strong. They made the plays that they had to make. And to me, that was just the signs of a veteran team with good leadership and a team that is well coached, that can stay poised, stay composed in those moments and make the right plays regardless of situation. It wasn't a thing where it's like, oh, well, if we have to get a stop, we might be shaky. If we have to get a three or if we have to get to the rack, it might be shaky. Whatever Florida had to do in this tournament, they were able to do it. So to me, that's really the main factor because all these teams are pretty even. And you felt like all these games were going to be close. I never felt like there was going to be a blowout in this Final Four. And then felt like those last 3 or 4 minutes were going to decide every single game. And those last 3 or 4 minutes, Florida pulled out the dub every single time. I want to pull up the box score real quick, take a look at some of the guys that I felt like were big contributors for the Gator. Alex Condon chipping in he was 5 for 9 from the field, chipping in with 7 rebounds, and then Will Richard going 4 for 7 from 3, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 5 for 10 from the field, and then adding on 8 rebounds on top of that. So 18 points, 8 rebounds. Alex Condon with a big 12 and 7. And then Walter Clayton Jr., who struggled 1 for 7 from 3, only 3 of 10 from the field. He finished with 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. And defensively was really where Walter stood out tonight. His shot had been falling. He had back-to-back 30-point games in the Elite Eight and the Final Four. I felt like anyway he was going to come in and just go off again last night. Houston really focused in on him. They shut him down. Houston is probably the best defensive team in the country, but Walter was able to make that last stop there on defense when Houston had their one final chance. Walter comes hard on the closeout. Houston shooter panics, puts the ball down. He's scared of traveling. Clock runs out. Walter just impacted the game in so many ways, and he made a couple of key buckets that we'll talk about that I felt like really kind of put Florida back in the game, kind of the momentum builders, right? Where Florida said, okay, we're back in this thing when Houston was up big. In the first half, Florida was only 11 for 29 from the field in the second half. Not much better, 10 to 24. Kind of knew this was going to be a slugfest with Houston, right? Kind of knew this was going to be a slugfest for Houston. LJ Cryer chipping in with 19 points, and then nobody else for Houston gets a double digit. They have a couple guys with 8. They have a guy with 9. Malik Wilson had 9. Like I said, they have 1, 2, 3 guys with 8. So they have some guys have solid games, but Florida holds Houston to 24 for 69 from the field and 6 of 25 from deep, and only put Houston on the free throw line 14 times. Houston was 9 for 14. So Houston finishes the game shooting 34.8% from the field, 24% from the three-point line, and 64.3% from the free throw line. Houston had 24 points in the paint to Florida's 28. Florida had 10 points off of turnovers compared to 9 for Houston, 17 bench points for Houston, 14 bench points for Florida. Second chance points for Florida, 11. Second chance points for Florida or for Houston, 10. So a lot of these fast break points for Florida, 2. Fast break points for Houston, 4. So this was a close game all around, right? Like no matter which way you look at it, Florida with 40 rebounds and Houston with 39. Like this game was tight all the way down to the end. And so, like I said, that's why I said in the beginning, the ability of Florida when they had to make those plays, they were the clutch team, Mamba mentality type thing, that just that ability to not be scared of the moment and to make the play. And this guy, Walter Clayton Jr., just an absolute baller. What a tournament for the senior guard for the Florida Gators. Back-to-back 30-point games in the Elite Eight and the Final Four. The first player to do that since Larry Bird. Pretty good company. Pretty good company. And I thought even though he didn't have the best game shooting, he saved his best for about 13, 14 minutes to go in the game. You really start to see him turn it on. With around 8 minutes to go, it was 48 to 45, Houston lead. Clayton gets to the basket for an and one, and then comes back and hits the free throw coming out of the timeout. A few possessions later, around 7 minutes on the clock at this point, Houston is leading 51 to 48. Florida runs a great play call, a pick and roll that gets Clayton going to the basket. He converts on the and one there, draws contact, gets to the rim, and then he hits the free throw, ties the game at 51. I know there was still about 7 minutes of basketball after that, but to me, those were 2 back-to-back possessions for Florida where you just saw Clayton. Florida needed the momentum. There was another moment with about 12:36 in the game where it was 45 to 39, and Martin hits a step back 3 for Florida. Then Florida gets another stop, and that leads to a fast break and one. Florida converts the and one, and all of a sudden Florida's right back in the game, right? But I just felt like those 2 baskets, the 2 and ones that Clayton was able to get back to back, were really that moment where anyway, watching the game, I said, Florida's going to win the game. They're making the plays yet again. Houston had just been up by double digits, and just like that, a couple of plays by Florida, which they started on the defensive end, getting the stops on the defensive end. Florida really cranked it up at about the 10-minute mark and started playing lockdown defense. And it was a defensive slugfest all game. But when they had to get the stops, they got them. And that was led by the tenacity of Walter Clayton Jr., who was, in my opinion, the best player in this tournament. He should be player of the tournament. And I think he's the best guard in the country. It's well documented, right, that guard play in March will get you a national champion, or it'll take it away from you. And you can go back to the semifinal game, the first game of the Final Four for Florida, where they played against Auburn, where Auburn guards Tahad Pettiford, Denver Jones, and Miles Kelly struggled because of the way Florida defended the perimeter. They were all in Tahad Pettiford's face. They made life difficult for Denver Jones. And Auburn was only playing 7 guys compared to Florida's 8 or 9. Fresh bodies. They were able to get their guys a little bit of rest. And then Walter Clayton comes out and he's able to finish games. He's just able to finish games. Those two possessions with 8 minutes left and then 7 minutes left, those back-to-back and ones, crucial, but he did it all tournament. I think back to a 3 he hit against Auburn in the corner where there was like 12 seconds to go on the shot clock. He kind of jab steps forward, kind of puts the ball forward, then he pulls it back into a little mini step back, and he shoots it with 11 seconds to go on the shot clock. And I'm thinking, well, that's a bad shot. And he just nails it. There's another time where he comes around the screen. He's a little off base. His shoulders aren't square with his feet. He's kind of leaning forward, shooting it forward, leaning into the shot coming off the screen, and he bangs it. The kid's just an absolute baller. He's clutch. And then obviously the defensive stop to seal it when Houston's got a decent look for three. You definitely, in the moment, you're thinking that Houston's going to get that shot off. And Clayton just closed so fast, forcing Houston into the turnover as the clock ran out. Cannot say enough about the performance of the senior guard for the Florida Gators. And in my opinion, man, Janai Broome and Cooper Flagg went back and forth over who was the National Player of the Year. But the Player of March is Walter Clayton Jr. This Florida Gator team lost on February 25th to the Georgia Bulldogs, and they did not lose another game. So Florida ends the season on a 12-game winning streak, and I want to go through this stretch real quick. They lose to Georgia 88-83, February 25th. No shame in that, right? And then beat Texas A&M 89-70, beat Alabama 99-94, beat Ole Miss 90-71, all tournament teams. Beat Missouri 95-81, beat Alabama again 104-82, beat Tennessee 86-77. I mean, that's murder's row right there. Then they beat Norfolk State in the first round of the tournament, 95-69. They beat UConn. What a tough draw that is. 8-seed UConn in the second round. UConn actually gave them maybe the best test. I mean, Houston and Auburn, every game really for Florida was close. But I thought UConn had them. Nope. Florida said nope. Walter Clayton said nope. 77-75 over UConn. They defeat Maryland 87-71. That one was really no contest. And then in the Elite Eight, this 84-79 victory over Texas Tech. The Final Four, 79-73 victory, and then the 65 over Auburn, and then a 65-63 win over Houston. So, stacked Final Four. Nothing but tournament teams to end the regular season into the SEC tournament, and Florida just runs through it. So you have to give your flowers to head coach Todd Golden. His third year at Florida, goes 16-17 the first year, 24-12 the second year, a heartbreaking first-round exit in the NCAA tournament, a 102-100 loss, and then they come out this year, and I was expecting Florida to be good, but, man, in your third year to bring home the national championship, and to really leave no doubt about who the best team was. And Houston, Auburn, and Duke, all great teams. All great teams that have seasons they should be very, very proud of and should hang banners for. And to me, that's what makes it even more impressive for this Florida squad and for Todd Golden, is that in a stacked field where there wasn't a lot of Cinderellas going on, it was all chalk, the best teams made it, Florida just ran through. There was no easy road for Florida at the end of the regular season. There was no easy road for Florida in the NCAA tournament. I mean, UConn in the second round. And time after time, Florida's able to step up to make the clutch basket or get the clutch stop. And it's just a testament to Todd Golden for having his team ready, having a team of guys that are not scared of the moment. And it also shows his coaching ability, right? His actual coaching acumen to be able to draw up the defensive stops, to be able to draw up the plays and the sets on offense, to lead to those buckets. I mean, that call, like I talk, getting back to those 2-and-1s, those back-to-back and-1s from Clayton Jr. there. One of those, he gets the ball at the top of the key, doesn't even get a ball screen, clears everybody out, and just gets to the hole. So it's like one-on-one ISO. Then the next time, he's off ball. He sets a screen, you run a pick and roll. He sets a screen, he rolls, gets the ball off of that, and gets to the bucket and gets the and-1. So Todd is figuring out, hey, my guy's not shooting well from deep tonight. Let me draw a couple things up for him to get to the bucket. Very impressive. So Todd Golden deserves all his flowers. There was a situation before the season He was cleared of any wrongdoing, and just to stay focused through all of that, continue to coach your team, and for the team to rally around him. I think it says a lot about what his team thinks about him. I think it says a lot about his mental toughness and the kind of head coach that he is. So, historic season, like I said in the intro, for the SEC. Only 2 teams in the conference did not make the tournament. And ultimately, I think the best team is cutting down the nets as national champions. And I think it's only right for when the SEC had maybe what a lot of people are saying, the greatest season a conference has ever had in college basketball, for Florida to navigate all that, to win that conference tournament championship, and then to go on and win the national championship. Like I said, their last loss was February 25th to Georgia, and then they went undefeated after that. They won every game in March. They won every game in April. That's how you do it. But I think it was more than just getting hot at the right time. This Florida team was a problem for everybody they faced all year. So congratulations to the Florida Gators, 2024, 2025 national champions in men's basketball. Well earned, much deserved. They are the best team. They left no doubt about it. If you guys like this kind of content, please smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. We're about to start a series here previewing the SEC teams spring football. So check us out, man. Follow me on Twitter at DMcShop28. And until next time, I'll see y'all guys. Peace.